And welcome to this week's episode of Feedback Friday. Today we're speaking to experts from the Department of Gender, Culture, Sports, Youth and Social Services. And for the first part of this week's episode, we're joined by the County Executive Committee member for the department, Dr. Ruth Agesa. So Dr. Ruth will be giving us an overview of the department and some of the achievements they've been able to have in 2024-25 and an outlook of 2025-26 financial year. Karibu, Dr. Agesa, welcome to today's episode. It's good to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Shamim. As you've heard, my name is Dr. Ruth Agesa in Social Services. I would like to say that I took over the department from the department is moving on. I'm concerned. We've been given a lot of support. Excellency, the Governor, Dr. Wilbur Hasilwa Otichilo. By this department because it touches on the society. By opening the GBV Center, where we brought so many partners on board and they assisted us very well to operationalize the GBV Center. Very well taking care of our survivors at Bokoni, and I must commend our partners. After that, we had our International Youth Day, which we celebrated at Chavakali High School. The chief guest was His Excellency the Governor. This brought together youth from all over Vihiga County, and they were celebrating the achievements and showing how the devolution has worked. From there, of course, some of our youth participated in the devolution conference, and they were sponsored by Shofco, who is with us in the department. They were participating in the devolution conference in Homa Bay. And also many other activities taking place in the county, in our department. We did very well in Kikoska. At this time, Kikoska used to be managed by guidelines to give a framework on how, and we came up with those rules, which actually made us come up with 3 committees to manage the Kikoska Games. That's the steering committee, the planning technical committee, and disputes and resolutions committee. The steering committee was chaired by me, and it had a membership of the county secretary, the CC Finance, CC Public Service, and of course the secretary was our CEO. Technical planning was headed by the CEO. For the Relations Committee was chaired by the solicitor of the county. For the first time, there's no team from Vihiga that had ever participated in handball, ladies. We took them there, and they did well and emerged the winners, overall winners in the Kikoska. We also had position 3 in choir and position 3 in basketball men. And still in the year 2025, we hosted the PWDs at Mbale's municipal grounds. The governor was the chief guest, and he managed to give accessible devices to 100 of our PWDs, 15 wheelchairs, 15 tricycles, going to crutches, walking frames, up to the white cane. And this day was a very good, it was a success, because by the time the PWDs were going, happy, especially even the deaf. And we are looking forward, of course, to making, taking audit of all who are remaining in the county, so that at the same time we took our teams to Kenya Music and Cultural Festival teams to Eldoret, and 4 position ones out of the festival, which had never been done before. And after that, we were to have cultural festivals among the Maragoli, the Banyore, the Tiriki and Terik. It was a very good event that we the Maragolis had theirs at Bale Municipal Grounds. The Banyore, we had Maragoli on the 26th. The Banyores, we had them on 27th. And Tiriki, we had their festival 9th at Hamisi Stadium. And the Terik, we had them on the 31st at Kapchemgum Primary. All these cultural festivals went on very well, and on first, under His Excellency, I joined the group also in giving food to children's homes. This is the initiative of His Excellency, the Governor, Dr. Wilbur Otichilo. And as we are moving on, we are actually looking forward into making Vihiga, the department, to be more vibrant. We have attended a meeting in Naivasha, first international investment conference on culture, on indigenous knowledge. It's going to be in Muranga in April, and Vihiga is showcasing several assets, because Vihiga is known for having a lot of indigenous knowledge. Wuhulu dance from the Tiriki. We having also Namoyua, which is the Avasiekwe, the rainmakers. We having the basketry, which is done from banana leaves, and the leafy products, the saga, all the other green vegetables. And so far with the products initiative industry in National Museum of Kenya, Vihiga has actually managed to produce a drug from Bunyore Imbagita, which is known to be going along into treating people who have enlarged prostate. It's still under testing, but it's going to be out soon. So these are some of the products that we are going to showcase in Muranga during that international investment conference. And we are having many other projects that are there on how to empower our youth, on and also doing advocacy into all the sub-counties. We would like them to come up also with the knowledge of legal matters on succession, especially on in Vihiga County. We've done the mapping. We have the figures of those who are registered, and this is an activity that is going to take place soon. We are looking forward to having it. Maybe I would like to mention about the challenges that the department has faced. No, it's a department that touches on the society, and it has a low budget, but we reach out to so many of our partners, and the partners have been very good to us. They have been coming in and assisting. Challenges that we faced were on during the culture time. It was quite to bring the factions in within the community Boli, we had two factions, and yet the patron was the same. We had the Vihiga Cultural Society, and then we had the best, and yet they are all being managed by the same person as the patron, as the PCS. But later on, the festival took place. Even in Tiriki, we had also challenges also of many groups coming in, but the group that didn't give us problems was the Terik, the capture group. They did work without much of a problem. And another challenge that is there is we would like, of course, to reach out to all our people because of the department being so wide, but you find the youth, unless you engage them very well, many of them come up making noise. But we hope the meeting we had yesterday at Broad Park with the Sierra News Network, we feel they are going to now come up with activities whereby we can be fully engaged in helping or getting partners to assist them. And another challenge that we've had with the GBV, because you find children, girls, being defiled by very mature men, and sometimes people not coming up to report. By the time you're getting the child, it has taken quite long. And also we need to carry out a lot of civic education, and people are not ready to come up and say my child has been defiled by so and so, because maybe it's a relative who will now make the woman to be chased away from the home. And we're hoping as we move into making sure that the society knows the importance of being away from or refraining from this bad act, then things will work well. But we still have quite many cases, and these cases that are coming up are most from Luanda and the Hamisi, and we need to do quite a lot of engagement, in fact even engaging of them moving actually in and helping in curbing this menace. There is also another challenge whereby our youth would like to take IDs, but you find that they are not being given IDs because they are chased away by the officers because of maybe they are demanding for some money from them, and yet they were told to go and get these IDs. So we're going to work hand in hand with the county commissioner and the GAO to talk to those in the offices to allow the youth to this without a problem. Otherwise, I have not much to say. I think that's where we are as a department, and we look forward to many of the activities. By December, actually, many of the activities in most, but now what we are remaining with are mostly activities that are touching on the youth, touching on the widows. Thank you so much.
Okay, and just as we conclude for this first segment, are there any policies or legislation in place for your departments that enable your work?
Oh yes, we have a policy on gender-based violence, because this one with the policy, it is actually what has made us to attract many partners coming in. And have a policy, then you don't have a guide. So with the policy on gender-based violence, we have also a policy on child protection, and we are actually working on apart from having had guidelines and rules for Kikoska, we now finalizing with the policy on the sports act, which is right now with it has been with the attorney. Now it's waiting just to go through the cabinet, and it will be done. We've also having regulations and rules for the youth, and we coming up also with a policy on the youth also. There's another policy that is in place. It's still to be streaming, as well as culture and heritage, which is going to guide us more on the issue of culture. Another success that I was forgetting to say is the department came up with a program on exercise. Sit the whole day on the chairs, you're tired. By evening, going to sleep, you'll come in the morning when you are also very tired. So we need to go and exercise, and beside this program, and many people are really seeing it to be very much of importance than a program that is also doing very well in the county.
Thank you for that. And thank you for joining us, Waziri. We've been speaking to the county executive member. This is Dr. Egesa. Thank you again to our audience for joining us. Continue asking your questions. For the second half of this week's episode, we will be having a director from the department who will come and answer some of the specific questions that you've been asking in our comments and some of the others that you've sent to us on the department. Asante sana for joining us. See you on the second half, and thank you, Waziri. Today we're speaking to the Department of Gender, Culture, Youth, Sports and Social Services. For the first half, we've had the County Executive Committee member from the department, Dr. Ruth Agesa, giving us an overview of the department and some of their plans and initiatives they'll be going into this year. And for the second half, we're joined by Director Bongo. Director, karibu to this week's episode of Feedback Friday. We'll begin by you telling us a bit about yourself and your role. What do you do in the department, and what are some of the what's the work? Director, what do you do so that I can, look up to that?
Thank you for this invite. My name is Bongo Museyo, the Director in the Department of Gender, Culture, Youth and Social Services. Generally, a director's role is to coordinate programs implementation and also coordinate preparation of governance framework with some policies, bills and regulations, of programs in the field. There is also the general supervision of staff who also oversee how the undertaking work, given that currently in the new dispensation, program implementation is measured by performance management, which of course is first precipitated by signing of contracts between His Excellency the Governor and the County Executive Committee members and the directors. And then we have the PAS, the assessment tools, which are now signed between the directors and the assistant directors, who are the focal persons, section heads, trickling it down, cascading it to the lowest level possible, so that assessment across department can be seen, performance can be seen in terms of what each officer does in the department.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we'll begin with a few questions that we received from our residents. So, and Waziri, during the first half of this week's episode, was able to explain that one of the achievements you had last year was celebrating the International Persons with Disabilities Day. And some of the residents were asking, they're usually people, those who are disabled at the community level. Now, how does your department reach out to the people? How do you identify the persons with disabilities? And are there any initiatives in place? How do you
Okay, persons with disabilities are in many categories. We have those ones who have hearing problems, seeing problems, those who are physically impaired. And as a department, last year but one, in 2014, the department recruited disability officers who are supposed to coordinate that sector as a commandant. Beyond that, during our celebrations last year of International Persons with Disability Day, it was also envisioned that we are supposed to map out all persons with disabilities, the wards. And of course, this also was re-emphasized by His Excellency the Governor. So early this year, as a rapid results initiative, to map out all persons with disability per category. This will be a coordinated exercise with the officers cutting across, because we have cultural officers, disability officers, youth officers, social workers, sports officers. It will be a rapid result initiative so that we undertake this exercise and ensure all of them are mapped up per category, and even to really struggle and rush to find out where they are, we are able by a click of a button to know where that specific person is and how best we can solve it.
Okay, and so how would people identify the disability officers? Are they stationed per ward, per sub-county? So that in February, because some of the issues raised were how do we identify the vulnerable cases? So for those who now have raised that they have vulnerable cases, and you've mentioned that you conduct this exercise. So how would I know if I'm at the village? Are they stationed per ward, by and what are some of the measures that you have in place that they're able to be identified by the communities? And sometimes you can go to someone's home and they send you back. So will you work? You mentioned you're working with the national government. So would you now coordinate with the chiefs on the ground to ensure that you're able to carry out this exercise successfully?
Definitely, we shall work very closely with the national chiefs, assistant chiefs. We have Nyumba Kumi, the committees at the grassroots. We have the decentralized units, the ward administrators who coordinate government programs at the ward, of course supervised by the sub. Note is that in our wards we have social workers who are our focal persons as the department, beyond the disability officers. And since the disability, we have two disability officers. There's a lady called Dinet and there's a gentleman called Paul. These two officers taking the persons living with the disability home and death area as a phenomenon that must be handled by the department holistically. And so when it comes to them visiting our offices, we have an initiative of going down to them. Circumstances when we call them here, and even the infrastructure of them coming to the headquarters has been a challenge. So it is now our duty to go to the grassroots and look for them, and that's why our officers will go down to the grassroots to locate them personally. As soon as we locate them personally, wherever they are, the ward, the sublocation, we are able now to put them on a system where by a click of a button we should be able to know where they are.
Okay. And this is a follow-up to that. Another resident had asked on the location of the NCPWD office, and you've mentioned that the disability officers in February will be able to go through the ground, like through the community level, to be able to provide services and map out the vulnerable cases and persons with disabilities per segment throughout the county. Now, in case someone has a concern beyond that exercise, where is there the two officers you mentioned? Are they stationed at a particular point, or how would people be able to contact them?
The officers we have are stationed with us, but we have routine field work to go to the sub-counties. At the sub-county level, as I indicated, sector in sports, youth, social work, and even who are stationed in the sub-counties, some even at the ward level. So there are offices cutting across. Most importantly, and what needs to be noted, is that the department has taken the initiative through the leadership to establish a persons living with a disability office. And the office has already been identified from the Department of Health. A house has been identified. The contract for renovation of the house to be compliant with the PWD persons has already been issued out, and the information I'm getting from the procurement office is that the renovations will be complete by April latest, so that the office is properly occupied and used by that sector of persons. It has a boardroom. The disability officers will be stationed there among other support staff and infrastructure that should be able to make the persons with disability be handled and taken care of adequately.
Okay, so the main office will be in
Yes,
Mbale,
the central office will be in Mbale.
properly renovated to ensure that you have the ramps and everything.
Yes. Even for their meetings, discussions, and many other things. There are also partners who really want a conversation with persons with disability, and they want to see compliance. Basically, are we complying as we have a conversation about persons with disability? Basics.
So April we should be having PWD.
Pressure, yes, and we are going to move with a lot of speed because it's a matter that has been at the center for discussion.
And Waziri had mentioned in the first half of this episode, Kikoska and the games, and the handball team was able to do exceptionally well in their debut at the Kikoska games. And some of the questions we have are on how the department supports youth and sports. Some people mentioned that the sports fund, how do they get access to it? How are youth supported in the department, and including those who are not able to, qualify in the first round? What does the department do to ensure that we also sensitize and ensure that people are able to benefit from this funds and initiatives for the youth and sports sector?
Thank you. First, I would want to congratulate the ladies handball team for emerging the national champions. The first try, and they beat entirely then all the teams that participated to clinch the first position. for us, great pride for this county. Number two, this was as a result of a properly initiated governance framework. Early in the year, last year, we drafted the Vihiga County Kikoska, which was approved. It was presented in cabinet by the county executive committee member, Dr. Agesa. It was approved and we implemented. In this governance framework, the intention was to be fair, free and just, to ensure every participant has an equal chance to participate on board in various disciplines, to conduct forums where they would now choose officers who were better prepared, who are competent and more talented to participate in the games. And this is what yielded the results that we have now as a governance framework. And it provided an equal opportunity to every officer, including registering, going through the auditions, and most of the officers who did not qualify to move from one level to the other admitted that there was a lot of transparency, there was a lot of fairness in terms of creating a free and fair, a just environment where they would participate. So for me, moving forward and to make it even more anchored, the department has come up with a draft Vihiga County Sports Management Policy in which this framework will be integrated. You mentioned the issue of the Sports Fund. Sports Fund is a product of the Vihiga County Sports Management Act 2019. This fund was envisioned to support teams that would be unable to participate in various leagues. But as we move forward, as a department, we realized the act was also limiting in the sense that unless you are at a league level, you are not supposed to be supported. There are associations that are doing so well. We have talent centers for young persons. We have teams in villages, football teams, among other disciplines that need support. We may not be able to do this. And that is why we now have the Vihiga County, the draft Vihiga County Sports Management Amendment Act 2025, which already has been presented to Cabinet and will be going to the Assembly, so that we open up the funding beyond the league, so that we are able to sponsor young persons who are interested in sports and who are in the villages moving forward. So these, among other initiatives, are the ones that we are putting in place as a department. We have very many youth, and predominantly sporting, particularly for soccer, rugby, among others, has more youth. And so in making these initiatives, we are able to allow the youth, and we release notices every November to go to the public so that they are able to apply for this funding. Last year's funding requests have been placed in already. As we begin the year, as part of the agenda for the Sports Management Committee, the first agenda is to review these requests for funding and to go through to see whether they have met the criteria that is needed for them to be funded. Maybe to just reiterate, it's important to note that those teams that don't qualify, we constantly speak to them as a department. The Directorate for Youth and Sports has sports officers, trained persons in sporting and management, who offer capacity to speak to various groups to tell them what is needed and how to go about it. Those that don't meet the minimum criteria, and there are certain things that we can do for them to meet that criteria, we go out of our way to also support and ensure they get the requisite documents that are needed.
Okay. And just to clarify, because we've had this question a couple of times, Kikoska is for county officers and is not open to persons who are not employed by the county.
Yes, Kikoska simply means for Kenya Inter-County Sports and Cultural Association. So, and it's specifically for persons working with county governments. And you must be on payroll of county governments for you to participate. So it's not open to the public.
Okay, so for those who are asking if they can join the teams, if you are a county officer, you're employed by the county, yes you can. If you are not, you do not qualify to participate in the games. And also just to add on to, we've spoken a lot about sports. What are some of the, because we know there was the International Youth Day, but beyond that, what are some of the initiatives in place to support youth? Because in as much as some of them are in sports and they are supported in the sports arm of the department, are there any other initiatives for youth
we have the Vihiga County Youth Service Act 2022. It was enacted, and that act establishes the Vihiga Youth Service Board. The Vihiga Youth Service Board has a membership across this county, and its purpose is to coordinate youth programs in the entire county. It's chaired by Chabaya. Chabaya is a young person who has a number of persons on the same, representing virtually all the regions in this county. Beyond that, we have a section for youth under the Directorate for Youth and Sports, Assistant Director for Youth Affairs. He was onboarded again in 2024 towards the tail end, with youth officers cutting across the county. Every sub-county has a youth officer, from Memuhaya to Sabatia to Vihiga, coordinating youth programs, reporting to the sub-county administrator, horizontally and vertically reporting to the directorate to coordinate matters that touch on youth programs. As a department, we have the draft Vihiga Youth Development Policy, which we are working on. And this year, the intention is to ensure this policy is passed in the county assembly so that it anchors better and enhances the implementation of youth support programs across departments. Again, that policy will also help us to enhance allocation for funding for youth programs. And you see, sometimes a governance framework is usually very important, because for you to be allocated funding or to increase funding, you must provide a framework within which funds will be utilized, because these are public funds. And unless you provide that framework, then there is every reason for the assembly to question why you are requesting for those funds, and yet there is no proper framework on how the funds will be utilized or rather absorbed. We work very closely with national government. Two cases in point. The first case is the Nyota program. The first phase was able to pick 1,700 youths who benefit. That is upcoming also, that will also support our youth. And I remember His Excellency for the launch of the program and the award of the funding to the youth. We have the Ajira program in, and the first phase involved the training of persons in Vihiga and Sabatia at Keve Vocational Training Center. We have the second phase that is coming up. We have a number of programs that support young persons. This year, we are envisioning on holding the Vihiga County coming. We have a number of things on board. A conversation on youth support, how best to go, what opportunities are available for the youth, where do we trace them, who are these partners who are willing to work with the youth, what are the state agencies that work on youth programs, how are we supposed to interlock with them and work together to see that young persons, the exhibitions on what young people are doing. There are very many young persons who are participating in programs across, and they have commanded areas in which they have interest. And beyond that, we are also working on one key aspect which I've just talked to some youth about, the Vihiga County Coordination Framework, which would create a platform where directors from across government who deal with youth issues are able to have a particular sitting and tell us what they have that touches on youth, so that we are able to coordinate and allow these programs to run seamlessly.
Thank you there. And another aspect of the department is culture, which is a key pillar in social cohesion and identity. And in Vihiga County, we have a couple of different tribes and different cultural activities that we participate in. How is the department promoting, aligning them with youth empowerment and economic inclusion?
Fantastic. Yes. It is important to note that every year for the last, I think, more than 8 years, we've been running what we refer to as the Vihiga County annual festivals, which usually happen in December. And these annual festivals involve 3 cultural groups: the Terik, Tiriki, Maragoli, and festivals, we give an opportunity to young persons to exhibition. Culture can be monetized, and so we have very many youth who have a conversation around this. So we give them the opportunity to exhibit, we give them the opportunity to speak about it. But moving forward, as a department, and I'm sure the management must have hinted to this, we now are coming up with the draft Vihiga County Culture and Heritage Policy. Vihiga County Culture and Heritage Policy will provide a framework on how this cultural activities should be conducted, and must they be annual only? Is it possible we that policy is very key for us. It is from it that we shall now generate guidelines that will inform how each of the subsectors are handled. Number two, in terms of the youth, we have the Indigenous Knowledge Documentation Program, which is a product of a memorandum of understanding between the county government and the national government. And this documentation program has young persons as focal persons who go to the field to collect what we are talking as indigenous knowledge to document, and they are at the center of it. So again, Kenya National Museum of Kenya, together with the county government of Vihiga, as a program, and it is ongoing. We have routine visitations from the national government to just come and assess to what extent this exercise has happened and how best to
cultural centers are the different cultures you Banyane, Maragoli, Take, and Kiri. Do we have them operational in the country?
We have, the department has taken initiatives to construct these centers, because that is where the danger lies. Yesterday, there's one that came on the ground which work on matters that touch on gender-based violence, non-state actors who we also work very closely with, and they link up. They have a direct line to our SGBV center and the leadership, so that when we pick up this matter, we go straight into them.
And you've mentioned some of the agencies and the national governments that you work with, and one of the key issues in prosecution of SGBV cases is always in evidence handling. Are there any initiatives, or do you have any form of collaboration to ensure that when there's a case, for instance, that when it is handled from maybe it's reported to the chief before it moves up to the next level and till the judiciary for those that are prosecuted? Is there some form of, do you have some form of discussion within yourself to ensure that this evidence handling is conducted well, and to ensure that these cases are actually brought to book and the perpetrators are prosecuted?
Yes, and that's why I told you we have a multi-pronged approach where we work very closely with the Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Public Service internally in the county, and coordination of national government functions. That's where the national government administrative structures are located. And in cases where a matter reaches the sexual and gender-based violence before medical attention is undertaken, we have medical personnel at the center who have been deployed to the center to take care of persons, the victims. They should be able to provide guidance in terms of where do we go. Should we move this person to the referral center for certain tests to be conducted, and then from the referral center we move to the police. We work very closely with the National Police, which also has stopover areas in terms of SGBV. They have cases they also handle. Also, when they get into contact with them, they do what is necessary, bring for medical attention, then they can relocate them to a SGBV center. So I would call it some kind of a collaborative approach which touches on various state organs, departments, to just ensure the process moves forward. But in terms of ensuring there is accountability and taking responsibility from the perpetrators, that is the key area, because we cannot provide a safe center for SGBV victims and constantly allow those who continue to perpetrate to continue with that. The intention is to bring them in a safe center and do a clean follow-up in terms of who are the perpetrators of this, so that we can now deal with it.
And how do you handle the cases which are not reported? Because some of the times we usually have cases, especially at the community level, but they are not reported to the highest levels. Some of them are not even able to access the recovery center in Kabati. So what do you do to those people those cases that are not reported or that are not brought forward?
And that is why we are saying we have a multi-pronged approach where each and every one of us speaks about gender-based violence. You remember, it was so unfortunate that this county was flagged out at one point as ranking among the best counties that perpetuate gender-based violence. And that is why we are taking it as an initiative to help get access to cases that may not move out easily. We have decentralized structures to the baseline, where we also even have officers at the local level, at the ward level. We have the CHVs, because you see, defilement is a medical matter, and the community health volunteers can also identify it. And the moment they identify, they should be able to escalate to any line of reporting so that we pick it up. So this should be a conversation that each one of us should get centered on. We have the non-state actors who are very central in discussing matters that touch on gender-based violence, and they have advocacy machinery up to the very lowest level. They do trainings for chiefs and assistant chiefs, and I'm aware our ward administrators are also beneficiaries of the same. So for me, and from where I'm sitting, we cannot say the conversation has reached its limit. The conversation is going beyond. So each one of us, including all our communication platforms, are talking about this. The radio station, our digital platforms, we are raising concern in terms of when these cases come up and we have specific matters that have been highlighted, they should be flagged out and talked about, so that if there are any other in the villages, persons should come out and speak about it.
And some of the residents were asking also, just beyond the issues that we've discussed on SGBV, on culture, on youth, sports, and social services, how can they engage with your department to access services, raise concerns, or share feedback on social programs? Beyond just them leaving comments on social media, how can they access it?
Our department, as I told you, and this is an initiative that has solely been initiated by His Excellency the Governor, is the recruitment of key staff. Staffing in the department was at its lowest, with us looking for re-equipping. Then we have specific sectors that have been staffed properly to ensure we have officers, and these officers are not centered at the headquarters. The persons who are centered at the headquarters here are section heads, assistant directors, but the sub-county officers are in the sub-counties. The social workers are in the wards and in the sub-counties to coordinate these exercises. And so for us, for them to get information about service delivery, we have officers at the, we have officers at the sub-county. We have officers at the headquarters here, because if a person comes at the headquarters and needs to be served, we may not have the monopoly to tell this person to go back to the ward. We should be able to respond to the needs of the person right at the headquarters. Beyond this, we also have a grievance mechanism scheme, which is chaired by the sub-county administrators in the sub-county. So if they have challenges, they can report right there. There is a reporting framework that brings all these issues to the department and to the county coordinating unit for grievance management. We have an open door policy at the headquarters as a department. The office of the county executive committee member, the office of the chief officer, the office of the director, the office of the assistant directors, among other key persons, who, when information is needed and must be provided, should be provided. And finally, beyond the multi approach that I've mentioned, we have the one-stop shop for gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence at Sabaki. That center is one-stop shop in the sense that even those persons who go there and they're seeking information, they should be able to be guided in terms of what is supposed to be done, at what point, and how. So for me, in terms of a framework for grievance management, a framework for reporting and feedback, we have it. But I do not want to say we have really done all that should be done, because things keep on evolving. You can imagine we also have digital platforms as a department for gender, culture, youth and sports, social services. We also have digital platforms as a county government. Those platforms should be able to give us feedback, and we must have a mechanism which we have in responding to what they are.
Thank you, Director. And to our audience, as Director Bongo has mentioned, we have gender officers, we have sports officers, we have youth officers, and also the STBV Recovery Center in Sabati. And you can be able to get information in all these areas, including at the headquarters, should you have questions or issues on the department. And we hope today we've been able to answer some of the questions that you've sent to us. We began with the County Executive Committee member and Director Bongo. And as we conclude, Director, there is a marathon coming up. Na mbio wakimbizi, watu wajitayarishe. What can you tell us about the upcoming marathon? When will it be? What are some of the issues you're looking to address with this marathon, and how can people register and participate in that?
Thank you. We have the Maragoli Hills Forest Restoration Marathon, which is scheduled to take place on 1st of February 2026. But we have pre-activities prior to this. The first is a pre-planting event, which is scheduled on 30th of this month, and it will happen on Maragoli Hills. Thereafter, we have from 29th to 30th, we have a medical camp, which is a pre-event that will happen at Buhani. Buhani is an area around the Maragoli forest, and the conversation will be on health. And I'm sure there are people who may have different medical conditions which will also be handled and sorted. You see, it's taking 2 days, and a conversation around it and sensitization is already ongoing. It's important to note, and for purposes of the public knowing, this marathon is very key. One of Kenya's respected athletes, Eliud Kipchoge, will be attending. And I'm calling upon the public to equally come and participate in this marathon. Other years we've had this marathon, but the turn-up has not been as to what we expect. This year we have a committee in place chaired by the County Executive Committee member for Gender, Culture, Youth and Sports, Dr. Ruth Agesa, and the plans are in top gear to ensure the exercise runs through smoothly. There are a number of runs, and the first one we have 42 kilometers. We also have 12 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and 5 kilometers. The starting point for this marathon will be Boyani Primary School, and at its tail end, at stopping end, will be at Vihiga High School. And we have rewards for those who emerge victorious. For the 42 kilometers, we have 1 million shillings. For 12 kilometers, we have 500,000. For 10 kilometers, we have 100,000, and for 5 kilometers, we have 50,000. This year's event will be graced by His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Issues, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, together with His Excellency the Governor, Dr. Wilbur Tichlo, among many other dignitaries. And so as we move towards it, we are so prepared to have it graced by our top leadership. I'm calling upon the residents of Vihiga County to turn up in large numbers to participate, because beyond the run, there are conversations that will be initiated on drug abuse, on gender-based violence, on security issues, and they'll also have a platform to have a one-on-one conversation with the leadership, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Governor, and the entire of the top leadership in the county government. As a department, we have been co-opted on the committee. As a director, there's the Assistant Director for Youth and also the Assistant Director for Sports, who are part of the Secretariat to ensure that which we must do as a county government, we should be able to participate in to ensure the run is successful.
And how do people register for the marathon?
For the marathon, we have registration of 1,000 shillings. 1,000 shillings for 42 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers, and there is 500 shillings. Sorry, for 10 kilometers and 5 kilometers, the registration is 500 shillings. Yes.
Okay. Do we register online or are there officers stationed?
We have a registration portal online and we also have physical registration. We should be able to share on our digital platforms the registration online. We have also tried to share on a number of platforms, but it's not too late to also just share.
Okay.
But where you may not be able to be helped, we are also available as a department. You can reach out to us. We should be able to tell you what to do.
Thank you, Director Bongo. Today, we hope we've answered your questions, and we encourage all residents, our audience, viewers, and anyone who will come across this to participate in the marathon on 1st February. Jenny Tuone Eliud Kipchoge, and to be able to just raise awareness on Maragoli Hill is one of the key areas in Vihiga County, and the reforestation project has been a key project to ensure that Maragoli Hills, the Maragoli Forest, is going on well. So we encourage you to come on 1st February. Please register to participate. Come cheer your colleagues, your friends, your children, your mothers, your fathers, and everyone. We look forward to seeing you then. And thank you again for joining us today on Feedback Friday with me, Shamim Hussein. And this particular production is brought to you by the Department of Communication. So you'll join us every week for Feedback Friday and bi-weekly for Vihiga Wiki. Thank you again, and continue asking your questions. We will be answering them every week. See you next time.